Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of the world you are in. Welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict Live.
Live.
All right, guys, good to see you. It's Friday here. So, we're going to have a great conversation today. We'll take some of your questions like we always do. But before we get into all that, let's thank our supporters here.
Let's thank you for watching.
Of course.
Joining us today. This is a very live kind of experience for David and me. We want to thank you for subscribing and encouraging you to subscribe if you have not. We are still inching our way toward our goal of
70 million subscribers. it's I know it's a stretch, but you never know. Trust in instinct. So we'll keep going.
And besides, what we do is a very serious look at the world.
Indeed.
And we have to have some sense of humor about it to be able to maintain our energy to keep doing it. So we'd like to invite you to subscribe if you have not. And
of course, for our members. So we want to check out our membership, by the way, on the geopoliticsinconflict.com. Speaking of membership, we're going to be doing our presentation today right after this for our members only. And for you guys, we're going to be doing next week Q&A on Wednesdays at 1100 hours. Elizabeth's going to post the description and all that stuff for you, or a reminder, whatever that is. She's going to be posting that in the next few days. But also wanted to mention for our members only who might be watching right now, we're going to do Q&A session for you as well. That's only for our members. So we're going to do two separate Q&As, one for our subscribers here and one for our members only.
Where else can they see us?
They can see us on Rumble. That's one. They can see us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us. Follow me on Twitter at @DWalado and Elizabeth at Alchemy of E. So we both post our stuff. She has her account. I have my account. And that's how we interact with the majority. And also, if there is a quick update that we need to put up for you, it will be on Twitter because we do post stuff there. So make sure you follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok. So that's usually where we are. But also, we want to take this opportunity to say thank you for your support.
The last week has been full of surprising, shocking, and delightful kinds of information.
Indeed, Ross.
Are you ready for some questions?
I am indeed. Let's go through that first before we jump in our topic.
Okay. So, the Bank of England governor worried about Bitcoin being legal tender in El Salvador. In El Salvador.
I know, because I don't know why Andrew Bailey, he's the head of the central bank in England. Why England would worry about El Salvador? Why do they care? Well, you know why they care. Because they want to keep the country controlled by the West when it comes down to the financial aspect. Basically, just FYI, El Salvador made a decision now to use the Bitcoin as a legal tender, which means what? In a simple language, is that what Salvador wants to do, it wants to pay off its debt. It owes about $17 billion, wants to pay off that debt and be done with the dollar for good.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is why the West, even IMF was like, no, Salvador cannot do that. And I remember we did the break-ins, me and Elizabeth, we talked about this one when Hillary Clinton came over and said, oh, that's going to create danger for countries. Really? Why don't we just leave El Salvador decide for its own? Bitcoin works for them.
What a concept. Let a country decide what's best for itself.
Exactly.
So, wow.
I don't know what that guy was talking about.
Well, I think you just told us what he's really thinking about. As the JCPOA talks in Vienna continue, Israel announced today that it may have to militarily strike Iran.
I know. It was surprising to me. Here is the thing. Guys, don't get alarmed. That just hypes. Israel always talk about that. Here is why. As one who spent a lot of time in the Middle East, and I am a very, very, very familiar with Middle Eastern culture, history, and how it works, and I wrote books about it, so I kind of understand those kind of statements. It's just to the hypes, where the danger of all that. If Israel react or acts on attacking, will the U.S. be pulled into that? Which means what? Another conflict in the Middle East, another $6 trillion to have to be printed, and so forth. So the U.S. needs to be very careful not to fall into the bait of Israel, because Israel won't be able to manage that by itself.
Also, Iran is not Iraq.
Oh, exactly.
Very different military power.
Yeah, because what?
Very different allies.
You're absolutely correct. What I can tell you is that if that happens, you're going to be seeing missiles flying from Iran into Tel Aviv. They'll shower that. Yeah, that's the danger for that.
NATO, Russia, tit for tat continue. Lavrov warns of the consequences of Ukraine's entry into NATO.
Exactly. This one came on the wake of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe that took a meeting yesterday that kicks off in Sweden. And basically what Washington is saying is the warning Moscow. Really? About you are creating tensions and warning Moscow. What do you expect them to do? They're going to react.
Oh, let me get this right. They're looking to put strike weapons into Ukraine, and they're saying Russia doesn't like it. How dare they not like it?
Exactly. Yeah, and I do believe if ever NATO or the US moved forward with that plan, oh, you're going to see Russia reacting. I guarantee you this. I guarantee you this, Ross.
You know, as we observe Putin over years, he's got a great sense of humor. He's not laughing about this one.
No.
He is saying red line, red line, red line. And you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And he also has, 90,000 troops sitting on the border?
Exactly. So it's that's playing with fire, shall we say. That is where I see the concern with that one.
OPEC has agreed to increase production.
Finally, they agreed.
Well,
But guess who they responded to? Because it was one country that requested that from them. Who's that country?
Unbelievably, it was Russia.
It was Russia, indeed, not the United States. Because as of this morning, I was driving, I'm still seeing the prices of gas way up. They dropped by 3 cents a couple of days ago, then back up by 3 cents. So what's interesting, not funny, but what's interesting about all this is that OPEC responded to Russia's request, but gave the middle finger to the US. That's the
Over and over again.
Yeah, that's the bottom line to it. So that's what we wanted to highlight this to you.
The post-American Middle East, prospects for a recovery of sectarian conflict.
Oh, that was an article that I read in some foreign policy stuff that has to do with, how do we think of the Middle East moving forward after the US, because US leadership is declining. It's a fact. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Right.
It's been declining for a while. And also even the US presence in the Middle East, it's kind of chaotic anyway. So, but the question now is, what will the Middle East look like after the US is gone? Sectarian will be one of the order of the day, because there are so many sects into the Middle East that now is going to be dominance, fighting over who controls what and all that, and that will be very, very chaotic.
A new island free from the British crown. Is it the beginning of the demise of the British throne star in the world?
It is. Who do you think that country is, Ross?
It's Bermuda. No, it's
Barbados.
Barbados. It's Barbados.
It is Barbados indeed. So I saw the image of Prince Charles standing there with this grim face and look on his face, because they realized, there used to be about 54 countries under the Commonwealth. 15 out of those already said, heck with this Queen stuff. We don't want to deal with it anymore. But what's interesting is that you still see Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Bahamas, those is going to be the domino effect, and you're going to see. So basically what we're witnessing now is the slow demise of the British presence in other countries.
Well, they certainly had their run at it.
How
many centuries?
You're right, for so long.
Exactly.
So now, before we move to our topic, I'd like to address two things quickly here, Ross, if you permit me here. The two has to do with the two questions that two of our viewers asked on Wednesday.
Yeah.
One of them has to do with the case of the tennis player. Okay,
the Chinese female tennis player.
That's correct. So there are different reports on this one. And what I found personally, and again, let's not jump into conclusions here, but one of the things that is very oh, I don't have connection anymore here. Okay, I'll come back to me. So Wi-Fi.
Well, let me say.
I got it.
Okay,
I got it here. So I just sometimes it's the link. So basically, what the article mentioned is that. And I have it here. I don't know how to share it with but it's okay. So basically what it was is just they found out that the New York Times article was not accurate 100%. Basically, she had an affair with the individual, and he kind of ended the relationship. It was a reaction. But on the other hand, let's not assume that just that's all it was, because this kind of issues we won't there. But it's just to highlight this. There are two sides to the story. So let's leave it at that. So far, it's not what's been reported in certain aspects here in the West.
It's a lot more
Complex than that.
and getting quality information is challenging.
Exactly.
So we don't really know what happened.
Exactly. And the second question has to do with what our viewer was asking. It has to do with China's reaction to the metaverse. Well, basically, this one I found that China government does indeed react to that one. What are we talking about metaverse here? Is the idea of certain technologies that will be developed by certain companies like Bilibili, and I believe it's the name of is Tencent and NetEase. Those are developing some technology that has to do with video games and all that stuff. And the government wanted to step into that. Well, they don't want to lose, those companies don't want to lose their share of the market. That is the reason why they are doing what they are thinking. So, so far, where the government stands, they are trying to put some sort of boundaries or restrictions. That's so far what I was able to find. So.
Well, can we move to our topic today?
Let's move to
Uganda.
Uganda, indeed.
Airport.
Indeed.
Debt trap.
Indeed.
China.
Africa.
Geopolitics.
Natural resources. So, indeed, before we detail, as always we do, guys, we'll do a 20 minutes, whatever. Just when you send your questions, just please put question before it. And remember, we're going to have a Q&A session only on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So yeah, to go into that, there was some articles that came out that are indicating, that China took over the international airport. Those articles that I came across and I read through them came from New Delhi. Come from India.
Okay.
So we all know the history here. There are others, including Bloomberg, that mentioned this story but did not confirm that indeed China took over, But that's not the point what we're talking about here. We wanted to provide both sides of the arguments, because you got the and I have a note on it right here on my computer that the head of the of the aviation in Uganda came forward and confirmed that China did not take over the airport. What he confirmed was that China is in negotiation. They are in talks regarding the restructuring of the debt.
And what we know is that's China's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
When a debt isn't being covered correctly by the government, by people they loaned the money to, they renegotiate it once. I can't remember what country it was. They renegotiated 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's always more to the story, though.
Exactly. So, but here is the other side of the argument of it. Of course, we're hearing this term of the debt trap, but let's break it down here and be straightforward about it. If you get engaged in a business transaction, aren't you going to protect your interest? I mean, you will one way or another. So, okay. But the idea that if China is moving into that direction of this issue of, I got to sink you into that so I can take over your stuff, then that makes it no different than what the US did back in the 70s, especially through the corporations.
Oh, yeah.
We're not saying that's what China's doing. We're saying that if that is the thinking of the Chinese government, that becomes very problematic. Why? Because you got 2 approaches to it. One that the US did through the corporations, but also through the military. And if, this is a big if China's going that way, it's going to go through business transactions. But so far, the story that has, because the photo were photoshopped of the airport. Right. Those were photoshopped.
Oh.
And all over social media, China took over, that trap, whatever. So this really becomes a little bit, okay, who's pushing the narrative that way?
Right.
And that is why we decided to talk about this today, to provide both sides of the argument. I cannot, and this is my personal opinion, I cannot stress enough the point that if China moves into the direction of truly sinking other countries into the debt and take over, that will be problematic for its credibility. That will be problematic for whatever it's trying to achieve economically.
You know, the thing with Uganda, we don't really have all the details of this. There's so many questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
What we have is historically going back centuries.
Mm-hmm.
China does not do that.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean it's not doing it today, because we have some conflicting information about, say, uranium resources in Africa,
which is known for that. Yes. Yeah. And usually if you have access to that kind of stuff, you're going to find, but at the same time, should we jump to conclusion right away by saying if a country, China or otherwise, is going after its interests, will that be a bad thing? As long as they're doing it the right way.
If they are true to what they're saying out loud in words of everything being a win-win,
yeah,
great. However, when it's a win-lose,
no,
it's truly problematic.
Yeah, because that's exactly what the United States did. I mean, look no further than Indonesia. I mean, you look how Indonesia was in the 70s. You know the resources that Indonesia has, especially in the Java area? Unbelievable, massive oil and all that stuff. But U.S. oil corporations took over with the IMF loans and all that stuff. No, IMF does the debt trap. And look no further than Latin America, for example. So that's why it took me by surprise. When I saw that first, I was like, took a step back. I said, I got to figure out where this is, And I digged enough to find that majority of the articles that I came across, one of them was from Republica.com. Well, where is Republica.com headquarters is in New Delhi. Again, we're not pointing fingers here. We're just highlighting the idea of this is what we do on our channel. We provide you the info because we're not jumping to conclusions. We want you to have the information so you can decide on your own.
Exactly.
So, and when I came across that, I said to myself, well, how about if I look for the counter argument to that? And when I read the article on Bloomberg, well, Bloomberg did mention, but did not confirm that. When I looked at other articles, it did say that there is no taking over the airport. As a matter of fact, China got involved in that project only to renovate. They didn't even
not
build,
to build, not to run, but to help renovate the thing.
Renovate the place, But the photoshopped, it was a photoshopped picture image that shows the China flag. That's to me where I draw a line as far as, you can't go that far because Uganda is a sovereign state. You can't fly in other countries. This is where whoever did this Photoshop image, didn't understand how geopolitics is. When you're dealing with a sovereign state, you have to respect the law of that state. But the bottom line in our conversation is that what this highlights is the idea that we need to decipher truth from fiction. What IMF loans been involved in the Latin America and Asia, whatever, was a debt trap. Is China doing the same? And that is the question we are asking.
The evidence indicates probably not. But we don't have certainty on this.
Yeah, and this is when we had a conversation with our guest, Dr. Hammond, which, by the way, we hope you guys liked it. I saw the comments from our viewers.
Very positive.
Yeah, they want Dr. Hammond to come back. And we will.
We want him to come back. He was
a
a delightful guest, and he had so much quality information.
Yeah.
He spent a lifetime studying China and living there.
Yeah, and he is what I call a true expert.
Yeah.
Because somebody who understands, because he was talking from facts, factual stuff, doesn't get involved. And you will wish somebody like him be an advisor to the U.S. government. But as one who worked in Washington before, Washington doesn't like people like that. They want somebody who's sleazy and somebody that, can sugarcoat.
I took a course from a sinologist.
Yeah.
And he worked in the Hillary Clinton campaign. And he made a number of very smart suggestions. She ignored 100% of them. And the next day he resigned. You're going, isn't that tell you something?
Right there. Yeah, because so that's why we wanted to bring this big picture in understanding. And that's why we title it, Does Understanding the History of a Country? It tells you about its foreign policy. That was for a reason why.
And that's why Dr. Hammond was so so insightful because he's an historian.
Exactly.
He looked back at least 3,000 years.
Exactly.
And pushed the whole one narrative forward.
Yeah, exactly. But we wanted to just highlight this issue of this, the article that says that trap, whatever. Let's not jump to conclusions, but let not dismiss the idea that could be some strategy towards that. As I said earlier, if you are to engage in a business transaction, what are you going to be looking for? Protecting your interest. That's common sense.
And you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that. But it's how you go about it. And this is where I personally use history as my guide to go back to the 1970s. That's why I keep an eye on history. It's important. It really helps understand where things are. Using history as my guide, the U.S. approached the dealings around the world in the 70s in this manner, exactly pre-planned and all that through IMF and through loans and corporations. As a matter of fact, you and Elizabeth's going to one day be talking about, because Elizabeth's background is in, as a matter of fact, just to share with you guys, Ross has been in China on a tourist visit. Elizabeth's been in China studies onto enterprise, how Chinese corporations operate.
And actually visited
corporations in China. So she has the understanding of, and you guys gonna do an in-depth conversations regarding all this one here. So that's the point of why we wanted to address this one here. So to me personally, and I speak for myself, the articles that I came across that China took over the Uganda's airport, it's not true based on the articles that I read.
Right.
And I checked so many sources to ensure the accuracy of the information. And as I said, once again, I am not pointing fingers at India here. It's just a majority of the articles that indicated that China took over Uganda's international airport came from India. So you draw your own conclusions. We're just highlighting this one here. But again, just let's think in terms of how history influences our thinking and how history can tells us exactly how a country will behave.
The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior.
Past behavior, indeed. And that's why it was very important to have that conversation with Dr. Hammond, because he's a wealth of information presenting facts about the history aspects of it. We didn't tackle, of course, as you guys heard the conversation, we didn't tackle the business aspects in detail. We're saving that for the next time. And once we detail that one, you'll get a bigger picture into all this. But what I found very interesting about when the articles came up is the timing. Why is that important? Because who was in Africa only 3 days before that articles came out?
Hotel.
Tony Blinken, Secretary of State in Nigeria. And interesting enough, and I listened to his speech, used the word "that trap" when he was addressing the delegations with the presence of the Vice President of Nigeria. And the Vice President of Nigeria responded by saying, well, when I explained last time about the adage or the concept of the bride when she takes the higher dowry, that because China offered 3.2 and the US offered 2.1, and even the US saying, oh, this is not about we just wanted to present Nigerian with the arguments and all. That's like you're presenting the argument, but you are wording it in a way. This is where you guys come in, you and Elizabeth, when you talk about the language. And I am going to find this speech, that one.
Okay.
You and Elizabeth can analyze it, guys, because, by the way, Ross, a lot of our viewers are asking now for those analysis from you and Elizabeth too.
We have several planned. We'll be presenting some of them next week.
Okay, perfect. And we'll let you guys know when that is, because you do not want to miss that. This is not just for this channel, whatever. This is for your life, for your daily interactions with human beings, to understand the human psychology and take advantage of it. That's what I can say to you. So
part of our dedication in those is to give you the tools.
Indeed.
So that you can be seeing the same things we're seeing them, but see them everywhere in your life.
Indeed. So, well, shall we move to the questions, Ross?
Let's do it.
Let's go to the questions and we'll go from there.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, who is that? Oh,
Homeversity.
Homeversity. Thank
Super
you very
sticker.
much for
Thank
your
you.
super sticker. We appreciate it. Oh, another one.
Boone. Is this?
That's Boone. That's
Hey,
our
Boone.
Boone. Thank you, Boone. We truly appreciate it.
To join us later. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna see Boone soon. He's our member, just to say it all, share it with you. He's our member on the membership, and we're gonna be seeing him soon on the presentations we're gonna be doing. All right.
Athene Wu. What would the coming democracy summit achieve? Helping Taiwan to gain international recognition, annoying allies such as Qatar, Singapore, with not inviting them?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. And indeed, the summit's going to be, which is virtual, I believe, is going to be between the 6th and the 9th of December. There are about 110 countries being invited. Interesting enough, no Arab country has been invited except one, Iraq. Well, you know why. Doesn't take genius to figure that out. But the idea, what was alarming to me, and I tweeted about it. If you can go back to check my tweets, you'll see it there a couple of days ago. What I found very sort of problematic is the invitation to Taiwan. Because what's problematic about it? Taiwan is not a sovereign state, and this is, again, it's just not a smart way. Whomever advising the president, not a smart idea to go about doing it that way. Second thing is, why would you want to tell other countries about democracy when you can fix your own? The level of poverty we have.
Is it time to make a distinction between plutocracy and democracy?
Yeah.
A democracy is when the people really have a voice in what's going on. A plutocracy is when the top 1%, power-wise and money-wise, really make all the decisions, and everyone has to live with them.
Exactly.
But what we don't have is a plutocracy conference. But that's really what's going on in the world.
Exactly. So that's this is just a window screen. So smoke screens, as we say. So it will be nothing of substance to it. So, we want to thank Crypto Holder for the super sticker. Thank you so much. And we want to thank the Juice 911 for your super sticker also. Thank you. And it says, appreciate all the great info as always. Happy Friday. And happy Friday to you too. So we truly, guys, we want to say thank you. We appreciate it. So it means a lot to us. So
can we see what city that is? I can't quite see that.
No, I can't see from here.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next question.
Journey to the East. Huawei now start to completely withdraw from Canada and not allow Canada to use Huawei. Thank you. Huawei 5G patent. Does that mean Huawei start to retaliate against Madam Wong house arrest? I don't know that.
Well, I do.
Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah, because now they have to lay off 4,500 employees in Canada. So, yeah, it is a retaliation, plain and simple, and rightly so. Huawei is a company. They can decide whatever they want. And for the facts, the way they were treated or how they treat Meng Wanzhou, we all know the story. We did videos about it. We had a conversation with Richard Curlin, the top lawyer in Canada for immigration, and he understands this inside out. Yeah, what do you expect? They expect China to bow to Canada? No, they're going to see more of this, and China's going to cut down its economic ties to Canada one step at a time. And as a matter of fact, Russ, we did mention this. We said down the road, you're going to see China reacting economically. That's all they need to do. And this is one example. 4,500 employees now. So, next question. Let me see here. Biryakov. Good to see you, Biryakov. Just 2 days ago, an agreement between China and Russia was signed on protocol notification of ballistic missiles and carrier rocket launches. To David, as formerly in military comments. Okay. Yes, they did sign indeed. But again, that's a sign because what NATO has been advocating for during the summit now they have, or the meeting, the conference they have in Sweden, you can just see they are drafting the communique to be exactly targeting Russia in that case. But also to China with Russia, that's another step of cementing that relationship. As I said, always, it's not at the level of a treaty between Russia and China. I do not see that happening. But I do see a strong military ties only growing between China and Russia for the right reasons, because they want truly limit the presence of the US in that part of the world. That's usually what I see it going. So, and it will move into some serious aspects of it.
Stefan, thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. We appreciate it. According to Guy Moore, a former government official in Liberia, China had 87 debt negotiations with African countries, and on contrary, only one debt swap. By the way, Guy Moore could be great guest for the topic.
Oh, let him know.
Let him know if you can access that, gentlemen. We will love to have him into, because somebody like that with the knowledge he has,
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to be doing with you and Elizabeth's going to be interviewing somebody in finance who understand the ins and outs, because that we're going to be bringing, guys, a true meaning of experts. We're not talking about somebody from Washington reading a book or two and call himself or herself. No, I'm not going to do that. So you're going to guys have some conversations with those individuals. And yeah, that just highlights what you just said earlier, as far as the history of how China have dealt with certain debt. As a matter of fact, I did find that China forgave a debt for one country in Africa.
They just forgave them?
Forgave them, yeah. It wasn't a substantial amount, but at the same time, it's an investment. When you invest in something, you want a return on your investment.
And when you invest in something, you take your chances.
Exactly.
You hedge your bet every way you can, but reality doesn't always vote the way you want it to.
That's why I'm saying, Ross, in the case of Afghanistan, China will have to be very careful how they proceed, because the how the country is, it's not stable, because it's ethnically mixed. Till China understand those dynamics before they jump into further business or economic ventures. All right, next question from Homeversity. That just gave us the sticker. Thank you, Homeversity. So, do you know what is the reaction of the US when Olympic truce resolution for 2022 Winter Olympics game in Beijing was passed? My short answer is no, I don't.
I don't either.
No, I don't have an answer to that. And I don't know. I don't know what that resolution is. All I know is that as far as the boycotts from the US that announced was just what was the word? For the optics on the global stage, because who's not going to be going? Just the officials. But the athletes were still going to go. So which to me was like, so what?
Yeah.
If the high-ranking officers or officials from the government don't go, who cares?
Right.
As long as the athletes gets the chance, because this is where I hope they separate politics from sport. Those athletes have been working hard for the last couple of years.
Many of them start as small children.
Yeah, this is their dream.
Yeah.
Why rob them of that?
Right.
Yeah, that's not right. So but short answer to that, no, I don't. All right. Technichrono. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Thank you so much for the super sticker. We truly appreciate it. And the statement says, thank you for continuing to provide facts that normal, everyday citizens are too lazy to seek. You are my favorite show on YouTube now. Thank you very much for that. And I concur with your statement as far as the intellectual laziness, because that's how majority are.
Let me make one statement about that.
Sure, Ross.
Because Elizabeth and I are putting a show together on education. And we've talked about this a little bit before. It's the whole concept of learned helplessness and learned stupidity.
Wow. I'll be watching that, Ross.
And so we wonder, how come people aren't vigorously going after this kind of information? They've been told that whatever they do, they're helpless to make a difference, even in their own life, let alone the life of the government, the life of other people. And we're going to dig into how that happens and what to do about it. And it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Wow. And that's where psychological expertise comes in.
I
because
actually worked in that for
Oh my
several
gosh.
years as an educator.
I can't wait to see that one. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's people are too lazy. For us here in the US, I can't speak of people around the world because there's different cultures, different whatever. But here in the US, they are too distracted. They are too, because that's, it pains me to see the level of average citizen does not understand the basics of what's going on with the government because they are concerned about the game shows or whatever.
Whose picture is on the Lincoln penny?
Oh, you're right.
Who knows? It's a secret.
You're right. So stay tuned for what Ross and Elizabeth is going to be doing on that one. All right, let's see next question. Oh, Saf. Saf was here last time and one asked questions about question. UAE, United Arab Emirates, has signed a deal to buy 80 Rafale fighter jets in an arms deal worth $19 billion. Is the UAE moving away from obtaining the F-35s? As a matter of fact, I just read an article about it this morning. The Rafale are from France. President Macron, Emmanuel Macron, is in the Gulf right now because he has to have his share of the pie.
Oh,
that's basically what it is. It's pathetic for the sheikhs of those countries. They just sign in and laughing. They have no clue what the West is doing because they're so idiot. And I'm going to use it straightforward. They're sheikhs and they have no clue about what's going on around the world because they're thinking about, especially in the United Arab Emirates. Do you know how many violations they have regarding human rights?
I can't count
that.
Oh
my gosh, and yet we don't hear anything about it here in the West. The US doesn't say a word about it, or the EU for that matter. But yes, you're absolutely correct about the deal. France wants to have its share of the pie, so that's why they decided. The F-35, well, is also the cost of the F-35. Remember, interesting enough is that Russians coming up with the 5th generation that cost only 20 million versus the F-35 is about $78 million. So
market forces will prevail.
Exactly. So, but you can just see why the sale of weapons will have to be pre-existed, or it has to be preceded by tensions and conflicts. So we have to create, the West has to create conflicts so they can justify the sale.
Well, the behaviors, they're pretty good at it.
Exactly. But also there is another aspect to geopolitical aspect when it comes down to France's foreign policy. France is realizing its diminishing global role on the global stage, and it has to figure out ways of how to sell their weapons and play a role. Next question. Patrick, good to see you, Patrick. Question. Chinese spokesperson calls America's democracy river without source. Your take on that? Wow, that's a profound statement.
Well, let's break that down. River without a source. When we look at Chinese history, do they have a source for practically everything they do? Yeah, it's called 5,000 years of history. A lot of it being trial and error. A lot of it being, we figured it out as to how to make essentially 1.3 billion people relatively prosperous. And what we have is the United States that has no real history in terms of successfully managing foreign affairs. And you take a look at how the country was started. It was a violent revolution. Well, what has the United States done since that time? Bennett War, and oh, by the way, it's Bennett War.
Yeah.
So you talk about effectiveness, you talk about morality. What we're seeing is the United States apparently has none of that. They don't know what to do. So they scramble around doing these pathetic things to cause disharmony worldwide.
Yeah. And this is why I always say this term, and you can quote me on that if you want. Democracy is nothing but a consumption of ink.
I've never heard you say that before.
Yeah, no, I say it.
Especially when you consider plutocracy.
Yeah, it's sad to see how, when we are even censored on this, on the channel, and you start to question, where's this democracy?
Yeah.
Why can't you challenge what the government is doing by saying what we need to say?
Right.
Why can't we share, what we need to share with our viewers in telling them the truth so they can reach their own conclusions? Why not reveal to them the dark side of what the government is doing behind the scenes that an average Joe or average Jane has no clue about? They go spend 45 to 50 hours a week only for the government to come take their tax money and waste it, not even using it on program that can benefit the citizens. So where's democracy into all this? Why people have no say into, well, wait a minute. Who gives you, the government, the right to go and spend over $1 trillion on defense stuff? Why? In a democracy, as we stated in the Constitution, government for the people, by the people.
Well, as you know, in a plutocracy, it's government for the wealthy and powerful, by the wealthy and powerful, and who benefits the most?
Yeah.
The wealthy and powerful, the elites.
Yeah,
and that's becoming part of the national conversation.
And this is where this country is headed towards. You're going to have few elements controlling the sources of production, complete control. That's why you hear that term of, reset, as far as, you don't own anything, can you be happy? Nonsense. Because in a democracy, property is the hallmark part of it.
The greatest wealth builder in the United States is owning property.
Yeah.
And now that there's all this conversation going on about, you can be perfectly happy by renting for the rest of your life.
Yeah. No.
Where is this coming from?
Yeah. And who is the government to come and start dictating to you what to do? Since when in a democracy that's supposed to work it out? We don't care about other systems, how they are. If China does it, do what it does by coming down hard on them, that's their system. Their system will not work for us. That's common sense. Let's just say it straightforward. Their system is different than ours. It won't work here. And it's in reverse. Our system will not work for them.
Clearly it won't.
I read a white paper regarding from the Naval Academy regarding the China's naval stuff, whatever. And one of the conclusion was, well, we should, that was back then, by the way, it was written back then. Well, we shouldn't expect China to become a democratic. I mean, don't you understand the history of that country that has nothing to do with democracy that you and I understand? So, and that's why I said, to go back to not only this question, but the comment earlier about the summit on democracy.
Yeah.
What democracy? When we couldn't fix our own first. Let's fix our own. When small businesses now are struggling to survive. When people, even here in the US, the poverty level now has reached about 92 million people. When people do not even know, here in the US, are they going to have a meal tomorrow or not? And Congress still just by the way, passed yesterday the support for the government to stay open provisionally. Oh, yeah. Not even, they're making the deals behind the scenes and when was that done anyway? It was done at night.
Yeah.
Nobody was aware of all that. Where's the conversation with the, American people as far as understanding what's going on? Only to have the president will come over and say, you guys need to do this. You guys need to do that. Who the heck are you to be telling, citizens what to do and not to do? And that's where that question about democracy, it becomes, as I said, the consumption of ink. That's my quote.
And by the way, if we, the government, if you don't like what we're doing, it's your fault.
I know. Shifted the blame.
Shift the blame to the victim.
Yeah, when they have the failed policies that they are embarking on. Next question. Oh, Journey to the East. Once again, thank you so much, Journey. We appreciate it. Another person that will be nice to bring along. He's living in China and depth knowledge in China, Hong Kong, and hot topic of Xinjiang. Here is the Twitter account. Oh, Dan. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth reached out to Dan. She did reach out to him. So,
I don't know. I'll reach out to him again.
Yeah, she did reach out, but we didn't hear back.
He was traveling.
He was traveling at the time, I remember. And I remember Elizabeth mentioned that to me. It was, I think, traveling to Hong Kong. Yeah. We love to have him. He's aware of our channels. If you want to just send him a note, whatever. But we did reach out to him. Elizabeth did follow that. And we didn't hear. There's one thing I personally, I speak for myself, I don't do. I don't beg for interviews, just to let you know where I stand. I'll reach out twice and I will cut off. That's it. Because that's, to me, it becomes an issue of, your time is no better than mine. So I respect your time, then you should respect mine. There are like some of our viewers were asking, can we bring Martin Jack? He understands China inside out. I did reach out to him. He's busy. He did tell me, he did send me an email personally, and he said, David, I'm really busy. He's going through some process for publishing his book. And he said, when that's settled, he will be happy to come on our show. So just for you guys to know, we did reach out to some individuals you are suggesting here, and we're waiting to hear from them. Oh, Dakian-san, that's our supporter here. Thank you so much, Dakian. We appreciate it. So that is the idea of, they are certain that we reach out to them, and whenever they have time, they'll come back to us. Tom Petra. Okay, question. What is your opinion that Twitter is now partnered with ASPI, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute? Is this the start of open social media information wars? I am so glad you brought this up.
Wow.
I am so glad you brought this up because Jack Dorsey stepped down. He doesn't hold that position anymore. And I was wondering and asking myself the question, will Twitter be the same? Because we don't know who's coming next. In other words, will Twitter be censoring the same thing? As of now, you don't have that. But we don't know who's going to be coming. And the fact that now you brought this information to light, it makes me wonder. Now I'm going to be putting question mark, knowing how Australia is moving, which direction Australia is moving towards. Speaking of Australia, by the way, they had 2 individuals fled the quarantine.
3, yeah.
Yeah. And
really?
Yeah. Well, because if they fled, that gives you an idea. Is it a quarantine or is it a prison?
Well, it tells me.
Yeah. So they are looking for those 2 individuals. Well, obviously they must be doing something that the government must doing something that pushed those. So yeah, it is very concerning. I'll be watching, see where this is going to lead to. But officially, Jack Dorsey now dropped his positions from
The new guy, when he came in,
Yeah.
the first day he came in he actually said no more pictures and videos of people without their consent. So the first thing he did upon coming in was a type of censorship.
Wow, that tells you right there. It tells you right there.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is one of the reasons I'll take this opportunity, guys, to highlight to you. This is why we are pushing towards Rumble. We are moving into that direction. So, as we move forward, as you might see less of our footprints on this. So, make sure you follow us on Rumble also. It's moving into that direction, and we'll keep you posted. All right, Dakian-san, your question. What do you think about the recent conflict in Ethiopia? They had strong collaboration with China, and their development has been quite fast. Yeah, the Tigray problem now. But here is the thing. What the West does not understand. When I say the West, I'm referring also to the average people. What they don't understand, Ross, is that Tigray, it's an old history over there.
No.
This conflict, it's not new. This conflict has been for so long, over centuries. It just emerges every time there is a new twist or a new adjustment or whatever. One ethnic group does not like it, and they have to react to it. But this one is different because of where Ethiopia is today. Of course, you don't want to ignore a market of over 100 million people.
Yeah.
Let alone its location. So it's strategic. So, the West, especially I heard the UN saying war crimes being committed. Well, hold on a second. Why didn't they say that about Yemen?
Yeah. Why don't they say that about Yemen?
When the Saudis
atrocities are going on there.
Saudis and United Arab Emirates have been bombarding hospitals and schools. To me, that's the double standard. So the ethnic conflict in Ethiopia is a historical one. Once again, if we don't understand the history, we're not going to put it within the right frame.
Right.
So far, just this morning, I followed up on it. I read that the UN and the African Congress decided to call for a halt, at least ceasefire till they figure out how they're gonna work out. I don't know what the outcome is gonna be, but yeah, it's ferocious over there. But at least they are not taking over not taking over Addis Ababa. So I was there a couple of years ago. It was peaceful over at the time. I was passing through, spent some time there. It's but it changed. It just changed. Harry, good to see you, Harry. Question.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So good to see you, Harry. Question. When helping others, Chinese philosophy tells us giving people fishing net is much better than giving them fish. End of quote. I don't believe people in the West can understand it. Wow. Don't we have something similar to that?
It's almost identical. Teach me to fish or give me a fish today, which is better? I mean,
yeah. No, we don't understand. The West doesn't have that ability to really understand, for example, the Confucius philosophy or the history for that matter. And that's why we are unable, some of us, no, I shall not generalize, of course, we are unable to understand those are statements or quotes or whatever you want to call them that are part of the civilization itself, part of the culture. And if we couldn't understand the history or the culture, how can we understand the content of a statement like that?
There's a very prevalent statement, at least in the United States, that I think really explains this. And it has to do with American arrogance. It's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Our way is the only way to do things. And it seems to be foreign policy for a very long time. And we're seeing it play itself out all over Southeast Asia today. History, culture. Oh, who cares? It's our way. We have figured it out. You take a look at Thailand, where there's major movements sponsored by unnamed governments to overthrow the monarchy. You go, what?
Yeah.
They've had that monarchy for who knows how long. And they're perfectly comfortable with it. Overthrow it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's our way or the highway. Monarchies are bad. Oh, but we tolerate England very well.
Exactly. Or Saudi Arabia. So interesting. Next question will be from Cheesecake.
Oh, look, Cheesecake.
I like the screen name. So Cheesecake. What's stopping the West from breaking apart? It is starting anyway.
Yeah, we're
I'll
seeing
say,
all over
I'm not
Europe
laughing.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm not laughing, but it is starting. It pains me to see where my country is headed. I'll say it straightforward.
I can remember the times of the Vietnam conflict when there was great animosity between groups of people. It's much worse now.
Yeah.
The groups in the United States are saying, if you don't believe what I believe, you need to be killed. What?
Yeah, it's ridiculous where we have.
Because you're threatening my life. This is so preposterous. This is just nuts.
Yeah, it reached a point where there is no more civil discord. There's no more civilized conversations anymore. There's no, and this is why sometimes which I don't see as many as we used to on some comments, that's just pathetic. We don't see that as much, right. Just because, and here is, I want to give thanks on behalf of all of us to our viewers. Some of our viewers push back against those people.
I read some of the pushback, and it was strong pushback.
We want to thank you for that, because it's a waste of time and energy. But just to think in terms of the West, back to the question, you see the division right now in Europe.
Yes.
The division exists in Europe, no matter what you hear. There are those who saying in both, in Washington and over the pond in London, that, the transatlantic relations are strong. And it's nonsense. It is not. Europe now is thinking, I've talked to some people that they know what they're talking about in Europe, Ross. And what I was informed is that they are thinking about their own foreign policy that is independent from the US.
It's about time.
Yeah, it's even in a monetary sector, they are thinking in terms of strengthening their own, because they are too under the dominance and control of the US dollar. So, and this is where you're going to be seeing little by little, and that's part of our presentation today about the inevitable death of the US dollar. So the division does exist. We do see it here in the US. Where that's going to lead to, we don't know yet. till people become informed, I don't see things changing here in the US.
Last question.
All right, last question, guys, because we have only one time to go prepare the stuff we need to do for Village. Good to see you, Village.
Yeah, comment on his name.
Sure.
Village Idiot, you keep coming up with these great questions. What's up with that?
Indeed. So that's just a screen name. I will call it Village Smart. Yeah. Question: how will the BRI debt trap be spun now that the EU said it will invest 300 billion euros towards global South infrastructure, and EU is not trusted due to its colonial past? I did read about that yesterday, if I may comment on it,
Please.
because I am a little bit familiar with it. The European Parliament has agreed now to allocate 300 billion euros towards that end, because they are concerned to see, and this is why the IMF and the British Central Bank said what they said about El Salvador regarding the Bitcoin. You can just see, take a step back and see those pieces together and put them together, and you see where this is headed. They are concerned about where that division in Europe is going to crumble. As I always say, if you want another quote.
No, good.
So,
Good.
the West is on its leg of hegemony. So that's yes, you do see the Europeans going to move for that. It's not going to work to the same way you are expected. And here is why. You get too many countries involved.
Yeah.
In the case of the BRI,
One country.
that's managing it, but involve, of course, the other. In Europe, who's going to be financing that? And that will become a question for individual countries. Oh, I put 50, you put only 10. I have to, that's what's going to lead to. But it won't work anyway because of what you mentioned about the colonial past. History tells us something. Nobody will trust. Yeah, you can't trust the West.
Exactly.
So that's what it is. So, well, anything to add, Russ, before we leave?
I want to thank everyone for staying with us for a full hour.
Yeah.
And please subscribe. Look at our membership. And we're delighted you spent the time with us today. This is a very exciting kind of conversation for us to have with you.
And also because I had coffee this morning. That's why I'm hyped up. So, no, truly, it's the positive energy, guys, coming from you. Some of you might believe, might not. It's the positive energy. There is one thing about positive energy. You tend to react positively towards it. That's why I am the way I am. And that's me. Anyway, we want to thank you so much. Don't forget, next week, we will have Q&A on Wednesday at 11. Elizabeth will post that. So make sure to check the channel as to when the dates for it, but you will see it. And we truly, truly appreciate you. We don't take your support for granted. We want you to know that. But please spread the word about the channel because we need to grow it even bigger. So, and there is one. Yeah. We want to thank Kennedy Kobe. Thank you so much, Kennedy, for your sticker. Okay. What do you think about Congo entering the East African Federation?
Very quickly.
It might make a difference because also we need to remember about DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. There are some issues going on internally. If they can sort out those issues, then their entrance will be very great and beneficial to them. So as always, guys, stay informed. Till next time.